and that's it. And the Barnstormers had their first victory of the season, and it's a big one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. I'm glad you guys are back for another video. We keep charging along. We are at team number 4 out of 14 in the Indoor Football League. Next stop, Des Moines, Iowa. We are taking on the Iowa Barnstormers in their 2026 team preview. A lot of turnover, new coach. Well, new coach in terms of Iowa. He's been around the scene for a little bit. We'll talk about that in a second. But for the most part, just a no good, dirty, rotten, horrible season for the Barnstormers. They need to start picking it up here. The last couple of seasons have not been kind to the team in Iowa. So that's what we're trying to figure out with this. So same spiel as the other ones. If this is your first time watching, if you are a Barnstormers fan, welcome in. If you are still trying to figure out who to root for or anything along those lines, this is the Iowa preview. So it might scare you away with what I just said, but keep the faith here, because there's plenty of Iowa fans to go around, and they're enduring the same trouble as you are. And as someone who roots for a team across the border in Lincoln, Nebraska, there's been a lot of bad seasons there. So I know what it feels like to have a lot of bad seasons. But we're going to talk about Iowa. Let's dive in, how we can figure out how to turn this team around. All right, so hopefully, same thing as the Green Bay video, hoping not to move too much to have the camera adjust back and forth like it did a couple episodes ago. So if it does, I might have to readjust what I'm doing here, but just slowly move right there. We're going to talk about the Iowa Barnstormers and everything that pertains to them from last season to this season, and kind of project and go along the lines of what happened last year to this year. What are they going to be capable of doing? So, as always, the thing pops up over here, little brochure, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it, the team information. The Iowa Barnstormers, located in Des Moines, Iowa, where they play at the Casey's Center. It just got renamed from the Wells Fargo Center. It is now the Casey's Center, which has just immaculate pizza. So just there you go. I will not hear any Casey's Pizza slander. If you do not like Casey's Pizza, just click off the video right now. I don't even care about your subscriptions or likes or anything, man. Casey's Pizza is goated. Moving on. Quick facts about the Iowa Barnstormers. Head coach Andre Coles, he is in his first season, and as I mentioned just a minute ago, not his first go-around in the Indoor Football League. He has been with the Frisco Fighters, most recently with the Tulsa Oilers last season, and now he takes the reins here in Des Moines. So his first season in Iowa, but not his first season overall as a head coach, if that makes sense. So he's got some experience. Last year, though, Iowa 1-15. Horrible. There's no other way to describe it, man. This team did not have a good season. They've been on a downward trajectory and have been practically since they won their title in 2018. And the league looks a lot different than it does in 2018 right now. Last 5 seasons for the Barnstormers, 24-52. They are reaching doormat territory if they're not there. And I don't like to, harp or dog on teams or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I do want to kind of put emphasis on just how kind of bad it's been. Like, this has been a once proud franchise, whether you want to include the iterations from the Arena Football League to winning the Indoor Football Championship, United Bowl, whichever one you want to call it, back in 2018, making the playoffs as recently as 2022, and have not really done much since. So last 5 seasons, 24-52. Last year, 1-15, didn't make the playoffs. 2024, 5-11, didn't make the playoffs. 2023, 3-13, did not make the playoffs. And then you see they're 9-7, losing in the first round in 22, 6-6, losing in the first round in 2021, and that was just a cluster F of a season in 2021, going with teams going dormant after the COVID year and stuff like that. So it's weird how things shook out, but overall, the last couple of seasons not been kind to Iowa, and we need to try and figure out how to turn it around. Offensively, last season, 43.3 points per game, 231 total offensive yards, 214.6 passing yards, and this team was pretty much an air raid offense, man. They barely ran the ball, if at all, unless the quarterback had to scramble. There might have been a couple of designed runs, maybe some goal line runs. I know Tyler Tate had a couple of rushing attempts around the goal line situation. You see him down there at the bottom of the screen. Rushing yards per game, 16. That's what I said, an air raid offense, man, like Mike Leach. born and bred to run the Iowa Barnstormers, it seems. So rip in peace to him. But third down conversions, 40 of 1, 28, 31%, not good. Fourth down conversions, 34%, not good. And red zone conversions, 74.7%, 56 of 75. Just they couldn't score. Man, they were just a huge work in progress. It sucks to see how bad this team has fallen off. Points allowed per game, 59.1 points allowed per game. So they were getting scored on about 14 points more per game. So they were losing in convincing fashion, man. It wasn't even like they were really keeping games close. There were some games, obviously they won one, and there were some games where they did make it close, but for most of the time, they're pretty comfortable wins for the most part. Total offensive allowed, 273 yards per game. Passing yards allowed, 138, and rushing yards allowed, roughly 135. So teams were very balanced on them when it came to rushing and passing, so it was equal opportunity, bad defense. However, they did take the ball away 22 times, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. They did have a couple of guys on defense that kind of shine. So for all intents and purposes, as bad as it was, there are some bright spots within the Iowa Barnstormers team. Opponent third downs and fourth downs, 48.5% and 46.9% respectively, and opponent red zone percentage, 91.4. So if an opponent got into the red zone, they were scoring. More often than not, they were scoring. So the bend but don't break turned into broken. Simple as that. Actually, before we go to the individual returners, let's go to the special teams. 12 of 17 when it comes to field goals, extra points, 51 of 57, so pretty accurate when it came to extra points. Kickoff return yards per game, about 13.2, and they only blocked 2 kicks. So special teams, not super special, but Gabriel Rui kept him in it. So top individual returners, players, that are returning from last season to this season and don't come from another team. DeMonte Martin and Raheem Harvey are signed on for another year, along with offensive lineman Tyler Castaneda, defensive lineman Jared Johnson and Tyler Tate, linebacker Jalen Johnson, and defensive backs Jared Sod and Cam Mitchell Johnson. Representing the Barnstormers down below, head coach Andre Coles, wide receiver Raheem Harvey, and defensive lineman Tyler Tate. So there we have it for your quick little guide to the Iowa Barnstormers. We need to go talk some players, then we're going to talk some schedule, then we're going to talk some questions, and we'll get out of here. So let's go check that out. Okay, let's talk roster for the Iowa Barnstormers. As I've said, and you'll hear the term a lot, it's going to be a work in progress because this is a team that's been bottom of the barrel for the last couple of seasons, and you got to start somewhere. We've got a brand new coach. He's bringing in his coaches and stuff like that too. And now they get to assess the roster and tool it to how they see fit. So we'll see how it goes. Now, starting at the quarterback position, Harrison Robideau and Ivan Corbin Jr., the quarterbacks that are rostered right now for the Barnstormers. Robideau comes over from the San Diego Strike Force. He did suit up for a couple of games behind Nate Davis, but he did not see any game time action. Ivan Corbin, I believe, was in camp with Green Bay a season or two ago. Did not make the roster. I think it was the season that they had Jerome Johnson and Max Myler over there in Green Bay. If not, they only kept the one quarterback in Myler and had TJ Davis be your jack of all trades. So either way, not necessarily a fair shake for Ivan Corbin, but there you go, having an opportunity here to earn the starting job for Iowa if you are so talented enough to do so. So we'll see how it goes. And we'll talk questions and stuff like that later. But the quarterback position was actually pretty good for Iowa, all things considered, that they have 2 guys that are still on active rosters right now from last season that could potentially start. And we'll get to those previews later. So there's some foreshadowing and stuff like that. Running backs, Maury and Walker, who, for all intents and purposes, is a veteran of the game, man. He was with Arizona quite a few seasons ago. He's been signed and released a couple of times, I think, with Arizona, just not being able to make that cut again. And obviously them going with Ron Brown Jr. and a couple of other guys. So making his way over here. I think he's bounced around from different leagues. Do not quote me on that, but his name has gone through the indoor and arena scene for quite a bit. Najee Bryant Lele, which Bryant's a cool last name. I like it because it's mine. But anyway, mine's not hyphenated like that, but his name's cooler. We'll see if he can challenge Morian Walker or if he will get the start. I mean, you've got one guy that knows kind of the ins and outs of it, one guy that doesn't. Could we see a mentorship kind of thing here? What does the running game look like for Iowa? They didn't really have one last year, so it could be a breath of fresh air to have more of a balanced style offense when it comes to the running back position and just running overall. Wide receivers, there are a lot of them, and there is some experience on this, and we'll talk about it. DeMonte Martin and Raheem Harvey are signed on for another season, and then Chandler Baker, Donald McKinney, Emory Bryant, Josh Simmons, Matt Bowen, and Tyler Stevens, if I've said those enough, if I've said all of them, excuse me. All of those, I believe, are all signed on for their rookie year. Curtis Ravenel Jr. and MJ Harris come over from different spots. Ravenel was with Bay Area last season, I believe, but I don't believe he saw any game time. I think he got put on injured reserve, if I'm not mistaken. And MJ Harris has been around the indoor game for a couple of years now. I know he was with Tucson at one point. He might have spent some time maybe in camp or maybe at one point with Arizona, obviously being an Arizona State graduate, but he has seen some time in the indoor football league, so there is some experience in the wide receiving core for the Iowa Barnstormers, and that is pretty detrimental. And we saw how good the wide receivers are since it's all Iowa kind of did, and I hate beating a dead horse, I do, but you did see some wide receivers really show out. Obviously, Kean Williams, you see him there at the bottom of the screen, and Jalen Bracey as well. I mean, those two guys were very, very good for Iowa, and some pretty good bright spots, all things considered. To the offensive line for the Barnstormers, Tyler Castaneda is re-signed for another year, and then Tyrone Chambers comes over from the Quad City Steamwheelers. Along with that, Deshaun Allen, Jared Bronson, and Keaton Davis are all signed on, and McLean Doja, who I believe spent some time with the Sioux Falls Storm a couple of seasons ago. I don't know if he was signed on anywhere last year. He might have been, but last I remember seeing his name, he was with Sioux Falls. He might have been somewhere else too. He is kind of a veteran of the game, or at least how I kind of tag it. Let's backtrack really quick. Let's go back to the wide receivers, because when you look at those guys, DeMonte Martin 6'5", Tyler Stevens 6'6", and 6'3" for Donald McKinney. Like, there's size and talent. Even Raheem Harvey at 6'2", and with MJ Harrison, there's size all throughout that wide receiving core. So I do think that's going to help them immensely. Morian Walker, just again backtracking even more, kind of a bruising running back too, 220, 6'2", kind of a big guy. So again, maybe it's more of a physical style offense when it comes to this. We'll see how it goes. Going back to that offensive line as we venture back down there, look at the size of this offensive line. It could be a complete turnaround of what it is. Tyler Castaneda has been an anchor, but 340, 6'6" for Tyrone Chambers, that's a big boy. 6'8", 330 for Jared Bronson, and 6'8", 340 for McLean Doja. I mean, those are some big, beefy boys. And if they all make the roster, if those are the guys who start or whatever the case could be, I know size doesn't necessarily always equal talent, but having two guys 6'8", try and protect your pocket, man. I mean, it's pretty good. That's really, really good. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but there is some talent on this offense. We'll see if Andre Coles can unlock it. Defensively, Tyler Tate and Jared Johnson are signed on for another year, and Jacarius Smith comes over from Tulsa. He was with Coles in Frisco when Frisco was a team, rip in peace to them, but Smith followed him to Tulsa. Smith follows him to Iowa, and you've got a pretty good three-person, I would say tandem because that's two, but three-person rotation right there at the defensive line. Added on to that, Everett Cunningham, PK Yensu, Tier Turner, and Zach Neinkirk round it out. And again, not necessarily the biggest of size, but hopefully you can make up with that with speed, because you see a lot of guys here at 250, 230 for Yensu, 260 for Neinkirk, and Turner's right there hovering at 300. But if Turner and Jared Johnson are going to be your nose tackles, kind of want that beef right there, maybe those 250s, 260s can beat the edges, and that they can beat those guards around to get to the quarterback or get tackles for losses. So maybe we're seeing something right now where you're trying to see speed to the edge on the defensive line when it comes to the Barnstormers, trying to see how we figure that out and how it's going to pertain to what Coles wants to do. Linebackers, Jalen Johnson is signed on for another season. Austin Edmonds is signed on, and then Cecil Cherry, he is a veteran of the game. He has been in different indoor and arena leagues. I think most recently he was with San Antonio at one point. I can't remember if he got into a game or if he was cut before the season. He's been with Arizona. I know he played with Arizona for a season, and like I said, he's been around for quite a bit, but I think he was with San Antonio a season or two ago, at least in camp, and then I think he went over to AF1 or AFL or whatever it could be. To the defensive secondary, Cam Mitchell-Johnson and Jared Saad are re-signed for another season. Khalil Finley comes over from the Green Bay Blizzard, and Taylor Hawkins comes over from the Tulsa Oilers to again link up with Coach Coles. So that's a really good secondary, a really good defensive line, and you re-sign your linebacker. The defense, we could be seeing something here, man. Add into that on the secondary, Amon Ross, who comes over from Jacksonville. It doesn't show it there, but he was with Jacksonville, I think, 2 seasons ago, so he knows the game a little bit when it comes to that. And then Jazeer Merrick's, Terry Jones Jr., Trayvon Pope rounded out. And we got some size there as well in the secondary, 6'1", 6'2". I mean, Cam Mitchell-Johnson, Jared Saad kind of held their own, all things considered. Taylor Hawkins was pretty damn good for Tulsa, and Khalil Finley and Amon Ross rounded out. So one of those guys might be the depth. You'll see how it goes with these rookies. Jazeer Merrick's 6'2", 198, and Trayvon Pope 6'2", 185. Terry Jones Jr. 6'1", 195. Like, again, maybe you're looking for a certain archetype here. We'll see how it goes. And one Gabriel leaves, another Gabriel comes in. Gabriel Rui is off to a different team. We'll talk about their preview way further on down the road. But Gabriel Reed has been signed, 6'3", 215 out of Oklahoma State. And if he is even half the man that Gabriel Rui was, you've got a great kicker already. So we'll see how it goes. You never know how it goes with new kickers getting acclimated to the indoor game. Try and give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see. I mean, you don't know until you start kicking, and that's how we call it. Injury call-up and other list. Kean Williams is over to the United Football League, and kind of like what we talked about with Green Bay, if it doesn't work out, I'm sure Iowa will welcome him in with open arms, because the dude was so good. Wide receiver, returning kicks, jet sweeps, you name it. He was practically the offense, man. Injured reserve or league injured reserve, Jalen Bracey and Ja'Cory Johns. We'll see what happens with that. Troy Leffajet is refusing to report. I think he's signed to a different team. I can't remember. And then the curious case, Caleb Street, on the roster sheet that I saw, showed that he was on the roster, but didn't have active next to it. So he might still have his rights retained by Iowa. I'm not sure. I put him down here because I'm not going to put him in the active roster because I don't think he's active. But I did see his name on there. I'm not going to try and get anyone's hopes up and say that he's back because I don't know if he's back. I don't think he is, but time will tell. If he is and he's suited up for that first game, we'll know. But as with everything, rosters are fluid. We don't know who's going to start, who's going to get cut. Obviously, this is a huge roster. It gets dwindled down to 25. You know the drill. And we move on from there. As I've said in every preview, players from other rosters can get cut. Iowa can sign them, vice versa. We'll see how it goes. But for right now, we have to put a pin in it. This is the roster that we get to talk about. That's where we have it. So let's go talk some key departures, some key signings. Got a schedule, got some questions. We move on. All right, let's talk key signings and key departures for the Iowa Barnstormers. There's been a lot of turnover, so key signings are a little few and far between, but we'll talk offensively. I've got to pick someone on offense. I'm going to pick Raheem Harvey, a veteran of the game. He's been around for quite a while. I think even as far back as the Bismarck Bucks. He's been with Quad City. He's been with Iowa. I think he's been with the Green Bay. Like, he's been all around this area, so it's nice to see him sign on for another year. He did earn this honor, 2021 Most Improved Player, and I do not know if the Indoor Football League gave out that award since 2021. I'd have to re-look it up, but he earned it, man. So kudos to him all the way back, 5 years ago? So he's, like I said, when he's been a veteran of the game, he's been a veteran of the game. Last season, though, not the best. 39 receptions, 398 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, just 4 rushing attempts and 12 rushing yards, which, okay, they didn't rush the ball really anyways. But those numbers seem kind of pedestrian when you consider what Kean Williams and Jalen Bracey were taking away, and there's a third guy. I'm trying to remember who it is, but the name's going to escape me. But for the sake of time, I will move on. I know who I'm thinking of. number 7 or number 5, because I think Jalen Bracey was 5. See how stupid I'm getting with this. Anyway, yeah, he got hurt, I think. Anyway, moving on, Raheem Harvey didn't get the touches because there were 3 other guys, I don't want to say better than him, but they were taking the receptions, so they were better than him. What can you say? So we'll see how it goes on the wide receiving core and the wide receiving front, because he has a chance to mentor some guys and really get this offense clicking. Defensively, Tyler Tate signed on for another year. 60.5 total tackles, 12 for a loss, 2 sacks, 2 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery, and from what I could find, 3 rushing attempts, 1 rushing yard, 1 touchdown. So he does have a rushing touchdown. Big boy touchdown. They did have this goal line package with him in the backfield, which most of the time didn't really work, but it worked once, and that's all you need, baby. You got the highlights already with the big boy touchdown. There you have it. But on the defensive side, all intents and purposes, everything that went wrong with Green Bay, he and a couple of other guys, like I said, defensively, were some pretty bright spots. And to have him back for another year, it shows that Andre Cole sees something in him and goes, hey, I want him to kind of be, I wouldn't necessarily say the star, because we don't know, but to sit there and say, hey, I respect you enough and I love your game enough that if you can be that guy, let's go do it. So, like I said, not the best stats, not the worst stats. He was very, very admirable, all things considered, for what Iowa had. So here's to hoping that Tyler Tate has a very, very good 2026, because I would love to see those numbers increase on all of those stats. It'd be amazing and shows that Iowa's defense is turning a corner. Key departures, though, we need to talk about these guys. Offensively, key departure number 1, James Cahoon. And while there have been a lot of key departures, again, we don't know the fate of Bracey, Caleb Hood. Boom, I knew it. Caleb Hood, going all the way back to the wide receiving thing. I knew that name would pop up into my head. Anyway, offensively, James Cahoon going over to Jacksonville. 2025 all-rookie team for Iowa. He is now over with the Sharks, which we'll preview them tomorrow night. But for all intents and purposes, we need to talk about Cahoon with Iowa. 255 of 463, 2,888 passing yards, 56 passing touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Almost Jameis Winston numbers, man. 30 rushing attempts, 127 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. I think I can't remember if it was him or Joaquin Collazo that had like a 30 or 40 yard rush where like they just scrambled, and I think it was against Quad City. No one went with him. And it was like a 30 or 40 yard, like untouched, just took off, and it's like, this guy's got wheels. It might have been Collazo, but I'm pretty sure it was Cahoon. James Cahoon was really good. He did take over. Collazo went over to San Antonio, so that was the thing I was alluding to earlier in the episode. Cahoon and Collazo are both going to vie for potential starting jobs with San Antonio and Jacksonville, respectively. So what you lose on the quarterback position, you hope what Robideau and Ivan Corbin can, recreate, or depending on how the offense wants to go, how that goes. But James Cahoon, a big loss in my opinion, because I think Jacksonville's going to gain from that. And obviously we'll talk their preview in the next night, but you look at those stats, man. 56 passing touchdowns. Yes, I didn't run the ball a lot, but you take away those interceptions, man. You're almost 3,000 yards passing. He didn't even play a whole season. That was like half the season right there, too. Almost 500 passing attempts as well. So he was slinging it. Speaking of someone special, and again, we talked about it in the roster segment, defensively, Caleb Street at the defensive back position. 2025 Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2025 All IFL First Team, and 2025 All Rookie Team. So he did this all in 1 year. 49.5 total tackles, 7 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 of those interceptions returned for touchdowns. That is insane. And rightfully so, he deserves all of those honors, because if you have 7 picks and almost half of them are touchdowns, you're doing something right. And when you aren't intercepting those passes, you're breaking up those passes or getting some really good tackles. Guy was all over the damn place, man. So, like I said, you talk about bright spots of what the defense had last season. Caleb Street was easily the number 1 guy for Iowa. Now, as I said in the roster spot, I do not know if he is back for another year. I cannot say for certain. I saw his name on a roster sheet, but it did not say active next to it. So with that, we do not know. So I'm putting him here in the departures, because until there's an official word that he is in, we do not know. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit with Fishers with their offensive linemen. We don't know. So I do want to have those caveats here and moving forward whenever I, talk about guys that might be on the team, might not be on the team. So we'll be on the lookout for those in future episodes. But for all intents and purposes, here's your signings, your departures for Iowa. Let's go take a look at our schedule. We got 3 questions. We wrap it all up. Okay, schedule time for the Iowa Barnstormers. The bye weeks are pretty kind to them. We'll talk about that in a second, but a lot of their games are on Saturdays. They really have 2 Friday games, both at home, and 1 Sunday game on the road. So other than that, every other game is on a Saturday, which I think for all intents and purposes, they don't really have too many matinee games. I think there's 1 or 2, maybe just one, just a quick look at this. Yeah, about 1 or 2 that are, 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern time. So most of the games are going to be at night for Iowa, which, all right, cool. But we started off on the 21st of March, 6 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on the road against Quad City. I will be there, and it'll be fun because I get to see this game because I do love my Steam Wheelers, even though I'm wearing the enemy jersey. But we start that off, Iowa on the road against their I-80 rival in the Quad City Steam Wheelers, and then you have a bye week. Already 2 bye weeks within the first 3 weeks of the season, and then you are at home to open up this season against the Green Bay Blizzard. 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff for Green Bay and Iowa, their first of 3 meetings, and same thing with Quad City, their first of 3 meetings back on the 21st. And then again, the first of 3 meetings on the road at Fishers, 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff between Fishers and the Barnstormers. Literally a week later, I think we talked about this in the Green Bay preview and the Fishers preview because you're just alternating back-to-back weeks with them. You are on the road at Fishers, I just mentioned that, and then on the road at Green Bay, and then you're back home a week after that against Fishers. Home after that on the 2nd of May against Quad City. So the first 6 games for Iowa are just 3 teams. And it's one of the gripes I have about schedules and stuff like that. And I'll, save my diatribe for later. But this team is going to play Fishers, Quad City, and Green Bay 3 times each. That's 9 of their games. It's over half of their schedule is going to be just 3 teams. And I get that, arena availability, travel, money, stuff like that are all factors in it, but that's just kind of stupid to me, man. How over half of your season is going to be 3 teams. Now, I get there's logistics and stuff, but still. Anyway, off the soapbox, we move on. A bye week after the Quad City home game, and then you are Sunday, March 17th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time at Northern Arizona, your first Western Conference opponent that you play this season. And then short week, Friday the 22nd, you're back at home. You are playing the Jacksonville Sharks. And then kind of a longer week since you play on Friday, longer by a day. You are on the road for back-to-back games. You're at Tulsa and at Orlando at 6 p.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Eastern time between Tulsa and Orlando, respectively, before starting your final 3-game series game against Quad City on the 13th of June, 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. A week later, you're finishing your series with Fishers, 7 p.m. kickoff, 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on the road against Fishers. Heading back to Des Moines on the 27th of June. You're playing Tulsa, rounding out that home and home. Now you have a bye week, and then you finish strong 3 weeks to end the season. 2 of them are at home. You rounded out Green Bay, 6 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on the 11th of July. On the road against Jacksonville, 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. And then your final Western Conference opponent, you are playing the San Antonio Gunslingers at 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Your final Friday game, and that is on the 24th of July. So, for all intents and purposes, this schedule looks doable. I mean, if you are to turn it around, you've got to really beat 3 teams. Now, you want to beat all your teams, but for instance, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you just sweep Green Bay, Quad City, and Fishers, you're 9-0. We say you can't. Now, those teams do, but that's where you have it, man. That's where we have it when it comes to Iowa's schedule. I mean, it's I wouldn't say plain Jane, but you know where it's going to be. It's mainly on Saturdays. You're practically alternating home and aways, give or take. It's just kind of how it goes, man. But it's doable. I mean, depending on how the team goes, if you can get off to a quick start, could you pull an upset against Quad City? Then you have a week to get right. Then you have a home opener against Green Bay. You could be 2-0. We don't know. Now, maybe I'm just breathing hope into a hopeless situation. You got to do what you got to do here to pump this team up, man. But that's where we have it with the schedule. I'm sure we'll have more hypotheticals and stuff like that here in 1 second, because we got to go talk about 3 questions and try and answer them and do our best with that. So let's go take a look at those and we'll get out of here. Okay, so question time. We have 3 questions. As I've said in every preview and continue to say, these are just 3 questions that I come up with that I want to kind of ask you guys. You guys can comment if you want, but kind of open-ended questions on how I think either the season's going to go or what I think could be holding a team back. Whatever the case could be, we've done it for all of these teams. I did it in the last year's preview, all of this stuff. So again, like I said, welcome in. If this is your first time watching, this is how we do it. But first question for the Barnstormers that I have here. How do the Barnstormers turn this around? And it's a question I've asked this entire episode. How do the Barnstormers turn this around? New coaching staff, new players, but is it the same Iowa? I mean, for me personally, I think what it comes down to, or what it boils down to, is the defense. There's a lot of returning production on defense and players that you have signed from other teams, whether it's Jacarius Smith, bringing back Tyler Tate, signing Taylor Hawkins, even having Jalen Johnson. He did play half the season here roughly, and then he was with Green Bay prior to that. So a full season with Jalen Johnson, we can see how that goes. Obviously, you do bring back Cam Mitchell-Johnson. You do bring back Jared Johnson, Jared Sod, everything like that. I think the defense, and I mean, obviously, you know, Cecil Cherry as well, Khalil Finley, what have you. I mean, like, there is talent on the defense. I think the defense needs to be the thing that gets the team going. I do apologize, too, if my camera's doing that thing again. I cannot get it to stay. So, I'll have to figure this out at some point. I think the defense is what's going to keep Iowa in games. I think the defense is the thing that needs to get fixed first and foremost. Because if you can keep games close, the inexperience that you might have on the offensive side of the ball can really help. Because right now you're kind of wondering to yourself, and foreshadowing here for the question, maybe the offense doesn't score a lot of points. So maybe you need the defense to keep games close and low scoring so the offense has as many opportunities as it can to put points up. And I think that's one of the things we need to look at is, can you pull upsets early? You know, say, how does Iowa turn this around? You got to pull some upsets. You got to have the defense keep games close, and you need your special teams to be special. That will help the offense. Or you have Andre Coles and his coaching staff have the offense just firing on all cylinders. I don't think he's going to start out that way. Kind of alluded to it with Fisher's Green Bay a little bit. It's going to take a couple of games to get this team going. So there might be some growing pains, but once you start getting into the flow of things, new coaching staff, new system, new what have yous, new players, it could take some time to gel. We'll see how it goes. But where do you turn this around? I think you start it in the trenches. I do like what the offensive line has. I do like the wide receiving core. And there is some veteran experience at the running back position. And when I say veteran experience at the quarterback position, I mean they've been around. They haven't started. Hell, they've barely even played, if that all. But they've been around. So they know, but they don't know, if you catch my drift. So we'll see how it goes. Question number 2. Can Ivan Corbin or Harrison Robideau keep the pace of what James Cahoon and Joaquin Collazo were doing with Iowa last year? Now, this is going to kind of leak into question number 3, but I want to try and keep it contained to question 2. I don't know what Iowa is going to do offensively. Last year it was so predictable because they were air raid. They were more air raid than San Diego, and Nate Davis slings the ball around. But I mean, San Diego still runs the ball. It's like a run and shoot, dare I say, compared to a full-blown air raid from what Iowa was doing. So we'll see what kind of offensive scheme. You know, you saw what happened last year in Tulsa, if you were around for that, and the offensive scheme that Tulsa ran with TJ Edwards and what TJ Edwards was able to do in Frisco when Coles was there as well. You know, there are some moon balls that can be thrown up There's a lot of good wide receivers that Frisco had. There's a lot of good wide receivers that Tulsa had. The offense for both of those teams were very, very good. Can that be replicated here? I'm not sure. And that's the thing. It might take some time. It might take some time to get that thing going. And we don't even know who the starter is going to be. So whoever starts, I mean, they're going to have the edge. But how short is that leash? You know, will it be a tandem system? Does one guy play and then the other guy play? Maybe. I don't know. But that's where we kind of see ourselves with Iowa. I'll spoil question 3 here. We'll just move on to question 3. What is this team's identity? What is this team's offensive identity? Like I said, it kind of leaked into question 3. But I want to see, dare I say, a more balanced offensive attack. I think we're going to get it. From what we've seen with just the signings, the size, the speed of the wide receivers, the size and speed at the running back position. And I don't know if Robideau is a dual threat. I think Ivan Corbin is more dual threat. Robideau could be, but I'm just not sure yet. I haven't seen Corbin or Robideau play, but I'm thinking since Corbin was signed with Green Bay, he kind of fits more of that dual threat mold of what Johnson and Myler and stuff like that were doing. Robideau backing up Nate Davis gives me more of like that pocket passer vibe, and I'm just doing this based on nothing, really, just kind of what my own internal mind thinks of those offensive schemes in San Diego and in Green Bay. So could be thrown for a loop. We don't know who's going to start. We don't know what this team's offensive identity is. But if it's anything like Frisco, if it's anything like Tulsa, you're going to have a dual threat quarterback. You're going to have a really good running game. Because again, Justin Rankin, Jimmy Smith, my goodness. Or was Stockton there? I think Stockton was there at one point. Either way, what Frisco and Tulsa and everyone had, just high-powered offense, man. And you want that with Iowa. Can we get it? I don't know. We don't know what the offensive identity is. And what is the defensive identity? Because Caleb Street, whether he returns or not, you need to find that ball hawk. You need to get that defense going and firing to get to the quarterback, to help that secondary, whether it is Taylor Hawkins being the star of the show and taking over in that spot, whether it's Tyler Tate or Ja'Carius Smith being that edge rusher, being that guy that can get to the quarterback or get to the running back in the backfield or ruin a jet sweep or whatever it could be. That's where we have it. So 3 questions. That's where we're going to leave it with this. How does Iowa turn the corner? How do they turn it around? Can Corbin and Robideau keep pace from what the quarterback was last year? And finally, what is this team's identity? So there we have it for Iowa. A lot of talking, a lot of questions, because we just don't know. This is a wild card team. Like, this could be a team that could make the playoffs. This is a team that could win 1 game. That's how up in the air I see this team right now. They can win some games. No doubt in my mind this team can win some games, but can they vie for a playoff spot? We'll see. But let's go wrap everything up and get out of here. Okay, so there we have it for the Iowa Barnstormers. Like I said, just a work in progress. I don't know what to make of this team. And again, I don't try and think about injuries. I don't try and think too far down the road when it comes to this stuff. But this is a team, like I just said, that 5 wins max. I don't know. This team could surprise. This team could. I have faith in Andre Coles, just seeing the pedigree and stuff that I've seen from him from Tulsa, from Frisco. I want to give him a lot of respect, but this roster looks... the roster doesn't look bad, but it's one of those things where it's like, where do you see the wins in it? And that's not to dog any of the players to say the talent's not there, but considering the other rosters, we've already talked about 2 of them. I don't know. We're going to talk about another one with Jacksonville. It's insane, man. Like, the East is so wide open. You could throw Iowa into that mix, or it's 6 teams vying for 4 playoff spots with Iowa going, hey. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't think this team is going to win just 1 game. There's going to be some wins out there. I just don't think they're going to vie for a playoff spot just yet. Give it another year. Give it some more talent. We'll see how it goes. But I don't like doing the whole, well, we talked about all the stuff to hype you up to go. But that's just kind of how I see it, man. 5, 6 wins, maybe. And again, it's not shocked if they go above that, but definitely like raise your eyebrows and go, man, they might have overachieved a little bit. So that's where we have it. I'm going to end it there on that. I do love and appreciate you guys for all of your love and support. And I've kind of, whenever I upload these videos, I kind of check the views. I never used to do that. I haven't done that in a long time. I am seeing quite a bit of views. So kudos to you guys. You guys are really liking what I'm putting out. So I'll keep doing it. And we just kind of go from there, man. We just keep chugging along. Fisher's doing well. Green Bay doing well. Arizona doing well. Hopefully this one does too. And we just keep chugging along, man. Jacksonville is next. We got a lot to talk about with them because this is another team in Jacksonville making the playoffs. Do that. But again, like I've said in another previews, that's their preview. This is the Iowa one. And we just kind of keep going, man. Iowa looks poised to be a team that could bounce back. I just don't think they're at that point right now. But going to take off here, guys. Love and appreciate every single one of you. I know I've already said that, but if you feel so inclined and you want to like, comment, share, subscribe, spread the word, do whatever. We are already done with 4 teams. We've got 10 teams left to do. Just a couple more days and we're halfway done. And before you know it, once this is done, we're a week out from the season. And we got some games to talk about. We got some previews. We've got rosters starting to dwindle down. We got training camp. We've got a whole bunch of news that still needs to be covered. And I'm hoping to get an off-season update out once I'm done with all these previews. Because there is a lot to talk about. There's some news that just broke tonight. And not some good news in the Indoor Football League. But, you know, you can watch your games somewhere else on TV, apparently, you know, if you haven't seen the news yet. But anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. Love you, love you, love you. I'll catch you in the Jacksonville one tomorrow night. Until then, see you.